We're here.
Hi,
Let me
Hey,
get situated.
we are recording.
all right.
Okay. All right, great. Get comfortable. All right. Welcome. Um, my name is Angel. Again, for all of those of you who don't know, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Welcome back to Every Day I Do, where we talk about topics related to helping to care for a loved one who has special needs, helping to get through the challenges in everyday life, and including relationships. I've done a lot of work with couples, and it's another area that's near and dear to my heart. And so today we have another wonderful couple with us. I'm going to briefly introduce, and that is Paige and Greg. And I'll let them give a bit more of an introduction. But just to talk just briefly, today we're going to be talking about every day, specifically, I do love outside the list, loving outside of the box. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in, and I'll let Paige and Greg introduce themselves.
Well, I'm Paige Stowe. We live in Ringo, Georgia, and we've been married 34 years. We dated 3 years prior to that. And when I say dating, we were together. We didn't live together. We just did the old fashioned dating, seeing when we weren't working thing. This is my husband, Greg.
Hey, I'm Greg.
Hi. Awesome. So you guys have been together for, you said 34 years?
Plus 3 dating.
Say that again.
Plus the 3 dating.
Plus the 3. Okay, so almost, I don't want to add too many years. So like 37 years.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Okay, good. Well, I shared just briefly a few moments ago, but I asked you both to come and talk to us about loving outside of the list. A lot of our viewers don't know that I too, I like to, when I'm working with couples or just interviewing, really, it's what we're doing. You share to the degree that you're comfortable with. And I'm learning, like a lot of our listeners, for the first time as well. I really like to not get a lot of information. So I'm enthralled in the stories with everyone else listening, in concert. So I appreciate you both coming on and be willing to share your story. And I wanted to talk a little bit about loving outside of the list, loving outside of the box. And that was because I had heard that there was a bit of an age gap in the relationship. Now, I don't know if both of you had seen our previous episode, and we talked to another couple in our last episode, and they were talking about there being an age difference. And I'm going to bring them back on and talk a little bit more about their story. But that being said, it really brought me to this idea that a lot of times in the dating space and in relationships, sometimes that we're competing with this external pressure that says we have to be, that social media hashtag relationship goals, or people have to have a certain list or have to check the things off of the box before, if they're in a committed relationship, before their relationship is considered to be normal, or what others would be considered to be appropriate or worthy, if you will. Or in the dating space, people are oftentimes looking for this specific set of criteria. And it doesn't mean you can't have expectations and standards. But I wanted the both of you to talk a little bit about your story. Were there any surprises in how you both came together, and expectations that you had, and then ultimately the things that you found to be the most important in the relationship? So that being said, I'm finished talking. Let's start with the very beginning. Talk to me about how you both met.
Well, I was at work and he came up the stairs, and there's 11 years difference in our age.
Okay.
So I was 30ish, 29, 30ish. And he came up the stairs and we were introduced.
Actually, somebody
I'm
told me.
sorry, real quick, just to clarify for our viewers, Paige, and you're 11 years older when you say the difference.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. But actually, somebody told me that I needed to see her. And
Do tell.
and after meeting her, I agreed with them.
Okay.
But we didn't.
I was married at that time.
Okay.
I wasn't looking for no boyfriend.
And I wasn't looking for any kind of relationship. And it was sometime later after she was divorced and we run into each other again and just kind of started talking. But I don't think either one of us was looking for a relationship. Sure wasn't looking to get married.
Nope.
Yeah. So when you first met, you both were in different places in your life. And Paige, you were actually still in a relationship. You were still married. And so that was the farthest thing, obviously, from your mind when you both met. But you said something a second ago, Greg. I don't want to gloss over that. You said someone said I should meet her, and when I met her, they were right. I determined they were right. What do you mean by that?
Okay, it was somebody that I was working with, and he wasn't telling me that I needed to have a relationship. He was telling me that she was quite attractive, and I just needed to see her.
Okay.
And he was right.
Yeah, she was attractive.
And I was in law enforcement, so I had the whole badge, uniform, gun thing going on.
Wonderful. Thank you for your service. You both were in law enforcement?
No, just her.
Okay. Okay. And so you saw her. Yes, she's attractive, but we're in two different places. What happened afterwards?
She kind of went on with her life, and I went on with my life. And sometime later,
like 2 or 3 years,
we bumped into each other and kind of started talking. And again, I wasn't looking for a relationship. I don't think she was. And it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Okay. I always think that's an interesting statement when they say that. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit if it's okay. So you bumped into each other, were you guys kind of just out in, work spaces or just grocery shopping, or how did that?
He was at at a part-time job he had at the time. And I stopped in to speak to his boss about something.
Okay.
And he was there. And what's really funny is I had won some tickets to a country concert. And in talking, he liked that same entertainer. And I was like, you want to go with me?
Okay. So you asked him out.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. So when you ran into each other, you started talking, you asked him out. And then obviously, Greg, you said,
well, heck yeah.
Okay. That's right. Because you already saw her a few years ago and you already knew, you established that she was very attractive.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And so then you're out, and then from there it's the conversation, and it's just a friendship developed, or was it like instant, I just knew? Or tell me about that.
No, it was an instant. I kind of had my own thing going. I mean, in all honesty, I didn't want to be tied down. I didn't want to be married. I didn't want children. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and that was just me.
And on my side, I had been married, was divorced.
Gotcha.
I had a daughter, a toddler. I had a good job. I was self-sufficient. Had my, we lived, my vehicle. I wasn't looking for anything. I was very content in my life.
Sure.
Date here and there. And if I never remarried, that would have been okay too.
And so it was just a friendship, but then something changed.
Okay. Is this G-rated or R-rated?
You know what? That's a really good question. It's gonna be, it's YouTube. So sometimes YouTube has all kinds of things. I would say call it PG-13.
Let's say there was other interest.
Yeah,
Okay.
that.
Fair enough. Gotcha. So, I mean, it was casual in the beginning. It was a casual relationship.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there weren't any strings attached because both of you were still coming at it. You weren't ready, Greg. You didn't want to be tied down. And the same for you, Paige. You were coming out of something. You were focused on your family, your baby, your toddler. And so it was just really casual.
Right.
But then something started to happen. Sometimes things are casual and it stays casual. But then something changed in this scenario. Take me to that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know that I can explain it. I don't know that there was any kind of defining moment or, any kind of. I don't know that I can explain it other than we kind of got each other. We kind of understood.
Okay.
And neither one of us was pushy to make things happen and just kind of let them happen.
Gotcha.
We just enjoyed being together. We communicated well. I mean, we talked, we communicated well. We didn't demand anything of each other. It was just like the best friendship you could have. And it was like, I need just a little bit more. It's like we need to be together just a little bit longer.
Gotcha. So there was no expectations. It sounds like I'm hearing you both say, and it kind of made it feel like you were free to communicate without expectation. You could be yourself, and you felt the connection growing. And then after a while, it was just like, I need a little bit more of this and a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, pretty soon, like over the course of a few months, it was like it became normal to hang out every day.
Okay.
Comfortable.
Not uptight with expectations and not, thinking that somebody else was expecting something of you that was unrealistic. And I mean, I guess it just kind of, like she said, it just kind of evolved as time went on. It just became more and more natural.
Yeah, that's important. I'm wondering. It sounds like, because I've heard that a couple of times now. It's important that you felt comfortable that you could be yourself, and it was natural. You said earlier it just kind of happened, but that makes sense when I hear you say it felt natural. That's how it developed. It just naturally happened. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So then how did you know for each other, and just both of you can say, your own experience, that he or she was the one? Or rather, how did you know you were ready to get married?
I don't know that there was a defining aha moment, but as like we were spending more and more time together, the time just started growing into more days, more time, every day, all the time. And we're like, it just seemed like that was the next step, just to be together all the time, forever.
And we weren't willing to live together.
Gotcha.
We weren't willing for her daughter to see that.
Gotcha.
And when I would go, I didn't want to go home.
And I didn't want him to.
So it just,
yeah.
As time went on, I mean, I lived 45 minutes away. I got a job 10 minutes away so that I could be closer.
Gotcha.
And I would leave work, go to her house and take a shower and would just hang out. We would cook supper together. We would wash dishes together. And then when it got time to go to
Bedtime.
bed, I went home.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like it again, it wasn't that these expectations, it just over time, as the connection grew, it just felt more and more natural, and it felt more unnatural for the both of you to kind of live these two separate lives,
Right.
that you were
Like
just,
we belonged together,
yeah.
and by not being together all the time, something was missing.
Yeah. Wow. Where did the age gap fall in? So were you surprised, Paige, that you were falling in love with someone who was 11 years younger? I don't know if you'd been in an age gap relationship already, and then I'll check in with you as well, Greg, but talk to me about where you were at that time. Because that's, for some women, again, getting back to that list, there can be this expectation that, he has to be older, or, he has to have all these other qualities. But where were you with that?
Well, when I was younger, dating, I had dated different ages.
Mm-hmm.
And my ex-husband, my daughter's biological father, he was 7 years younger.
Okay.
But I never really thought age-wise about anything, years. I never put years on anything, but it just always seemed like older men were kind of boring. But just kind of set in their ways, and
Yeah.
I was just attracted to somebody that had more energy and
Yeah.
doing stuff and just that.
Gotcha. So you were more in tune with what you were attracted to, and weren't so focused on the age. It was just more, where can I get the qualities that I'm looking for?
Yeah,
And
that's
just
the way.
happened to find it in men who were younger. And
Right.
you're going to be open to that. Yeah. What about for you, Greg?
The age gap has never been an issue, or has never even honestly been a topic that really mattered.
Mm.
I mean, of course, all my buddies when we first started dating was, they was giving me a hard time about the older woman and all that. But I mean, like I said, I wasn't looking for anyone.
Mm.
Sure wasn't looking for like an age per se, but it just, I mean, the age thing has never been an issue for me.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, other than just maybe a few times, and probably as many times we've talked about it since we knew we were going to do this with you, but over the last 37 years, it's really not even been much of a discussion.
It hasn't. It sounds like it hasn't even been an important piece in the relationship at all.
No. But I will say that at that time in my life, her maturity and her being established in her career, and that probably helped me because I was kind of young, and I don't want to say reckless or wild, but I kind of went whenever direction the wind blew.
Okay.
Of course, I had a good job. I did the things I were, to be a productive citizen.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I didn't have much of a direction. So, and I think she definitely helped with that.
So it wasn't something you were looking for per se, but having had it, having this aspect to the relationship where she was more mature, she was older, you can look back and see that actually, instead of it being, maybe what some would say, an quality that they aren't looking for you, it's really been a benefit in the relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we weren't demanding of each other.
Yeah.
You know, didn't, I didn't demand that he be here at this point, at this time. You know, you have to be here or I won't be complete. You know, you got to be here with me. And he didn't have to beg to go do, you know, he had a lot of outside interests. He didn't have to be like, you know, he didn't feel like he had to have my permission to do anything.
It's almost like you're saying that, again, back to that word expectations, you didn't force him to be in a place in his life that he wasn't, like expecting him to be with you at all the time. He could just, like you said, both of you, he could be himself. He could mature at his own pace, and you could, you know, it sounds like you're saying you were okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about, you know, sometimes with that, and again, with this topic, what I love doing in these conversations is highlighting not just aspects that are helpful for couples who are already in, you know, in a relationship, in a committed marriage, but then lessons that we can glean, nuggets for people who are aspiring and that want a healthy relationship, or dating, or single and looking for a healthy relationship. So, you know, I'm hearing you both say that there wasn't, and maybe I didn't hear you say that, while the age gap wasn't an issue, but it sounds like you're saying that those aspects, like the list, wasn't the most important thing, and that where there were differences between you both, you didn't require certain expectations of each other, and other than just being yourself. Can you talk to me about how that's been a benefit in the marriage, or a difficult time, a time where you can look back and say, you know, it was really accepting my partner for where they were, and that actually turned out to be the things that I needed in the relationship, more so than maybe being the same age, or, you know, being from the same area, or, you know, certain qualities that you kind of hear outside these external factors that we hear a lot of times about what makes a good wife and what makes a good husband.
I think one of the basic things that any relationship needs is you have to be your own person.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be confident of who you are and not depend on another person to make that.
Right.
What do you mean? Tell me what you mean, Paige.
Well, I knew, well, like I said, you know, I had my job, I had my daughter, which, you know, I wanted a child, so I had it, you know, I didn't need any, I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy with me.
Yeah.
I didn't need something from someone else to make me comfortable with myself.
Right.
The fact that we wanted to be together, that I wanted him because he brought me great happiness. I was happy in my life.
Yeah.
He just added so much more that everything grew together. And he didn't demand of me to do stuff. When things came up, it was like anything that was a personal strength of mine.
Yeah.
If he needed it, I had that.
Mm-hmm.
Things where I needed something, his personal strengths fulfilled that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things that happen in life, ups, downs, you know, different things that just happen. And we had that with each other.
But you didn't know that from the beginning, though, did you?
No.
How is it that you think, and this is, you know, just kind of pulling back the curtain on this for people listening, you didn't know it at the beginning. How is it that you think that you both ended up, you know, from your perspective, Paige, and I'll check in with you, Greg, as well, in a relationship where you knew that it was okay to be yourself, and that you wanted someone who felt comfortable being themselves, and at the same time, where there were things that maybe there were weaknesses on either end, it was okay to bring a strength. You didn't know that in the beginning. How do you think that happened in this relationship?
Really know. Like I said, it's just always kind of fell into place.
Yeah.
You know, when I faced something, he was just there, and it helped me. I don't know that there was an exact time that I said, "Oh, I really like this, and this is what I need." And it's just like we just kind of blended, and we shared each other and drew off of each other and grew off of each other,
Yeah.
to the point where we just kind of blended.
Yeah. That makes sense. You're saying that it wasn't like one thing that happened. It was little things or big things at the time, but things that happen over a period of time. And each time something happened for you, you could see that he was there for you.
Absolutely. Having been married, definite big wall. And he used to tell me, he just, I had that wall. He just couldn't get through that wall. He was getting through the wall.
Yeah.
But that I got to keep you at arm's reach, because I can't let you get in my space, because I'm not going to be hurt again.
Yeah. Yeah. But he got past the wall.
He got past the wall.
Yeah. And he got past
that
it.
sucker down.
And he did it because, am I guessing when you said it was because over time, it was those moments where you could see he was there for you, and it just cracked, made more and more cracks in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering. I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about for you, Greg? And did you know the wall was there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
You felt it.
And she told me it was there.
Okay.
So, and it's, I mean, it was pretty obvious. I mean, I knew of the, we've been 100% honest. I knew of her, of her previous marriage. I knew, the details of it. But I wanted to get through the wall. One, because I wasn't that other person.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. That's not how I do things. That's not how I act. And two, I wanted the wall to be gone so that I could be as close as I thought I needed to be.
Wow.
And I didn't want everyone in my family has had failed marriages.
Yeah.
They've had failed relationships. They were in and out, living with different people over and over. And I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I would have rather been by myself.
Yeah.
Than for that to happen. So, later on, looking forward, when I thought, hey, this has got a chance.
Yeah.
I didn't want a failed relationship.
Yeah.
And then after we were married, I certainly didn't want a failed marriage.
Yeah. You were determined to have a healthy relationship, not just to be together, but to have a healthy relationship. And go ahead.
Either healthy or not at all.
Or not at all. Yeah. And I love that you said earlier that she told you there was a wall and you saw the wall, but not just removing the wall was important for you so that you could continue to be you with her, but also so that you could be as close to her as possible, as you want it to be.
Right.
I'm just curious, as we begin to round things up, what would you say to couples who are married or looking for a spouse? As you talk about some of the seasons in a relationship and the challenges and the things that we come with when we enter into a new relationship with a partner, that, as you both said, in your situation, the age wasn't really an important piece. The external things weren't the most important things. It was, you said just a few things: communication and being able to get close. But what would you give couples and people looking to be in a healthy relationship? Any kind of thoughts on finding or maintaining a healthy relationship?
I mean, I would say, I mean, you've heard don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Don't let the small things get in the way. You know, we still have very different opinions about certain things.
Hmm.
We still have, I won't say heated discussions, but we'll say spirited discussions
Yeah.
because we're allowed to be different people, and you shouldn't change yourself or change your opinion or change your attitude to suit someone else. If that person, you have to accept them like they are.
Yeah.
You can't change them, and if you change them, then they're not the same person anyway.
Yeah.
And you can't get hung up on small details that really don't mean anything in the big picture.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
you know, you can't expect somebody. I mean, quite often I'm not going to say she's angry with me, but I mean, I like to have fun, and I'm pretty spirited, and I pretty much say what I think. Uh, Sometimes message received was not the message sent, but you can't stay mad, and you can't let. I mean, one of our biggest arguments, we had just been married a couple of years, like maybe not even a year. It was the first spring, I think. But we had a pretty good argument. I don't even know what over. And we were putting groceries up, and she slung a 12 pack of Coca Colas across the floor. I picked them up and put them in the refrigerator and said, "Now, what do you want for lunch?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was it.
And it was over.
Yeah. So you're saying, and then I'm going to kind of switch to you, Paige, as well. I want to make sure you have some time before we close. But that's important because I hear you saying, Greg, that the big piece is don't sweat the small things. That's something you do every single day is to work to not allow the little things to become big things.
Right.
Yeah. What about you, Paige? I'll let you have the final word before we close.
Well, don't let one thing define your relationship. You have a good relationship, a good marriage. One argument doesn't define that relationship. Just because this person aggravated you, made you angry, whatever, that don't mean that the year before that didn't happen. You still have things that you're rooted and grounded in, and that's not a defining factor. That's just being people. We're human.
I love that.
He sees one thing one way, I see it the other. Okay, he'll come around to the right way sooner or later. But but that don't mean that tomorrow's not going to happen. You get angry, you still have tomorrow to come. Tomorrow's another day. You're not going to be angry tomorrow, hopefully. You got to work it out.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something you both have said as a feature in your relationship, letting each other be themselves in the relationship. And for you, Paige, a big way to be able to do that is not letting a moment define the entire relationship. As long as there is a tomorrow, there's an opportunity to work it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
And like it may be something really, really bad. And I'm not speaking from us, but maybe something happened really bad. Maybe some trust is broken in a relationship. Yeah. That don't mean that tomorrow they might not be trustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And today's failures aren't final. You get to start over again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And like, as far as how he was when we met and how I was when we met, people are going to change.
Yeah.
It don't matter. You're going to change your views, your outlook. they're going to change.
Yeah. And you
But
have to
you're
expect
changing
that.
together. You're changing together.
Yeah.
But you have to do your part if you expect someone else to do their part.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of give and take. And, you know, I didn't set out to have an age gap in a marriage, but for me, it's not been an issue,
Yeah.
not been a pro or a con. So,
Yeah.
you know, you
And
just
finish
go
your
ahead.
statement. No, you finish your statement.
Oh, I was just going to say it's just you take one event or one day at a time, and you just make it work. You know, once you're in a relationship and once you're in a marriage, it's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
You know, and now that I will say our daughter is 40 years old, I love being a dad.
Yeah.
I love being a granddad. And we've raised 3 kids together. So what I thought I didn't want, I love.
Yeah.
But he evolved into that.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't force him to do it.
Mhm.
I didn't force him to be a daddy. I mean,
It sounds like though, and you know, you were open, and part of feeling as though that you can be yourself with one another, it sounds like there was an openness and that naturalness that you both shared, that like you said, Paige, you know, you didn't force them, and but at the end of the day, that those things weren't the defining features of the relationship either. It happened, it evolved, and it turned out to be something that you absolutely loved, Greg. Yeah. We're going to run out of time in a few moments. I want to thank you both. We could go on. We really could. And you all have shared a lot of good things that I hope everyone who's listening tonight has picked up on. Again, I want to thank you for sharing vulnerably and sharing your story. For the viewers, we'll be back next time, and we'll talk a little bit more on these topics pertaining to relationships. I want to thank Paige and Greg for joining us this evening. Thank you
for
both.
having us.
You're very welcome. All right. Till next time, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.